Welcome back to another episode here on the Heart and Hustle podcast. Our next guest says my mom was a single parent, a survivor, and had nothing except the unshakable belief that education could change everything. And that's why we start with parents. That's why we start at birth. Dr. Teresa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to have a conversation with you today.
Absolutely. I love that you say that. A conversation is exactly what it is. People like to say interview. I'm like, no, we're just having a conversation, right? Two humans just talking about life. In this space, though, we're talking about Dr. Teresa's life and her upbringing. We can just kind of talk about it. You said your mother is your why. What did she
Yeah.
model for you that still shows up in how you lead every day?
First and foremost, strength. It takes a lot for
Mhm.
a woman to recognize that she's not in a healthy place. And more than anything, it's like the first step's awareness and then the action. And so my mom, didn't have an education. She did complete high school, but didn't have a college education. And she had to make a choice. And she was, in an abusive relationship. And ultimately, she made that choice to leave because of us, right? And she'll tell you it was largely because of me. I was the youngest, right? I had two older brothers, and when the moment came when I witnessed some of the abuse that was happening,
Mhm.
that was it. That was her line in the sand that she was like, I will not have my daughter grow up in a household where she thinks that this is the norm and that this is okay. And so she packed us up and we left.
Mm.
So,
Strong women. I actually
mhm.
this past weekend I was in Boston, or this past week I was in Boston, and I have a brother that obviously we've been brothers our whole life, but I met him 7 years ago, so it's really still learning each other in a sense. But
Mm,
I love hiking, and every time I go up to Boston, he takes me to New Hampshire. We go hiking. This time we just kind of sat there and appreciated the view, but also asked the questions like, out of all the brothers and sisters, and we have 10 plus, it's like, why us? Like, what was so special about us that God has blessed us with these opportunities? Or how
mm,
do we? Because someone recently asked me that question. Like, out of all these brothers and sisters, what makes you different that you were able to overcome? Right? What makes your mom different that she had to overcome? And it is the strength. It is having people in your corner. It is having the. We all have choices, and of course we have to be surrounded by good people to also make those right choices. Because my mom that adopted me, same thing. She was no college degree, right? Became a mom at 16, 17 years old. She left home. She had four of her own kids, adopted three, so single mom of seven. She decided to leave Boston because she didn't want that type of life for us anymore. And it's kind of like what your mom says. That's not the life that she wanted you guys to grow up with.
yeah.
And maybe at the moment I didn't see it, but now I'm like so grateful that she took us out of that environment because I realized that if I look back and I look at some of the people that's still there, what their lives look like, right?
Hmm.
Do you ever kind of think and be grateful for just kind of looking back and say, wow, my mom did this, and even though she did the best she knew with what she had.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's interesting that you say that because I think people always say I'm an old soul. Like, so this will date back to even when I was little. And I don't remember this conversation that I had with my mom, but she did tell me because she held a lot of guilt. She
Hmm.
felt guilty, like, oh, I've ruined my children's lives because I've, removed them from their father. And um, when I was little, I don't know if she had said something, but apparently I came to her at like 8, and I just, I told her like I was happy that we were in the space we were in because she wasn't sad anymore. She wasn't crying anymore. And
Yeah.
so even at a very young age, and I think this is really important, and it comes full circle to the work that we do with early childhood, but
Hmm.
at a very young age, children can pick up on things and they understand things. And sometimes we don't give them the credit, right? That they can understand things. But at a very young age, I think I picked up on that. And, every step of the way, it's so interesting. Like, I went to grad school when no one else in my family had gone to pursue a PhD. And there were many moments where I was like, I'm out of here. Like, this is not our family. My people don't do this. Like, we don't do this. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm out of here. And my mom, again, that strength would come in, and she would kind of just give me that, you can do hard things. She always told me like, it'll happen. It'll get done. You'll get it done. You always have. Like, you can do hard things. And um, I think that that strength that she showed me also, she said it and showed it. And it's just totally, I look back, like I wouldn't be the woman that I am today. I
Hmm.
wouldn't. And some say it's a little much, right? Like I've taken that strength to like a whole
Yeah.
nother level. Um, but I hold a high level of um, high expectations for the way that I get treated, right? And the way that I show up in people's lives and the way that people show up in my life. And I think it's because of her.
Expectations is such a could be a challenging word and a challenging time, right? You have a high expectation and you do anything less, you feel like you're not successful or you didn't win. You ever feel like those
Oh yeah.
moments?
All the time. All the
Right?
time. And it's funny because I actually did not recently, a couple, I think it was like 6 months ago, I did another podcast and it was around confidence. And they selected me to have this conversation about confidence. And I was like, what? Why? I don't necessarily, I'm not a self-proclaimed confident person, but
Yeah.
it's come up so much in my life. Like you're just so confident. You enter a space, you take up the room, like you're so confident. Um, and I think about that because every day I'm questioning, like, oh my gosh, did I make the right decision? Is that like, and I'm very self-aware and self-reflective. And I think that that comes in all the time. And so I'm constantly questioning, like, did I do that right? Is this, is it going to be successful? Am I the right person to be doing
Yeah.
this? Like, I'm leading this massive early childhood organization. Um, and there are so many moments where I'm like, I, I don't know. Maybe there's someone else that could probably do a better job. And I think that that humility, that's what I talk about. Like
Yeah.
my humble beginnings and where I grew up and how I grew up has provided such humility that no matter title schmeidel, no matter what my degrees are, no matter what my title is, no matter how much I get paid, no
Mhm.
matter, all of that, like I'm still a person that questions things and questions myself and always wants to strive to do better and be better.
Their imposter syndrome. Like, so you're still dealing with it even at the head of the table.
Oh, and it's yes, and it's so real. It's so real because it's been, just this streamline through my life. But recently, so I'm in the Aspen Ascend Fellows program this year, and shout out to my fellows because they're brilliant. We were sitting in a room together, and I brought this up, and one of them said, like, I'm so sick of that term. We are not sick. Just because we question like whether we did the right thing or we're the right person to be sitting in the seat or what, it doesn't mean we have a syndrome or a disease. It means that we're humble and we're self-reflective and we have
Hmm.
strength. And, so it was really beautiful to see that kind of flipped. And I've been trying ever since to kind of take that in to be like, yeah, what is this imposter syndrome thing?
It's
But
hard.
it doesn't stop the feelings from coming through. It doesn't stop that like
Yeah.
natural reaction to
Yeah,
happen.
no, it's hard. I would tell you, even this past week, like I went on a trip, work trip, but I still felt a little selfish. I still felt like, what am I doing? I felt like, what's next? Like I hit a place where I envisioned, right, and I prayed for, and then it's like, what's next? We talk about
Mm,
expectations. I have this high expectations, and everyone's like, man, the audio's good, and I'm like, yeah, but when I hold myself to a certain standard, and the audio failed me, like, yes, you hear audio, but it's not the audio that I meant to record.
hmm
It does eat at you, and then as you continue to grow, you're like, okay, I'm here now. Now what? I can only
hmm
imagine when you got into the seat of CEO. Okay, I'm here now. Now what? Like, what's next? And you got to continue to move forward. You got to really be strong at times. You talk about the voices is still going to come, right? All that.
hmm
How do you overcome that? When you do hear those voices, when you are feeling some type of way, I always say it is okay as humans to feel that, just
hmm
don't dwell in it,
hmm
right? But how do we not dwell in it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I tend to have um, a bench of people that I know that are my cheerleaders, right? Like it's one of those things that, you're. never going to be successful alone. Whoever rewrites history to be like, oh yeah, I did this all myself. Like, there's like a whole cadre
Yeah.
of people that help them along the way, whether they give them credit for it or not. So I have a very large bench and I know who to call for what, right? So if I'm in the moment where I'm struggling, like I'm having a little self doubt or, I'm just needing that boost, like I have my cheerleaders to call that I know that are going to give me that. And then there's moments where I need the hard truth. I'm going to call, the friends that are just like, I'm going to give it to you straight and you may not like it. So I think that's one thing, is just having that strong network and really leaning on them when you need support and knowing who to go to for what. Um, I often think of my roots and my ancestors, and that really grounds me to say, like, my family didn't work that hard to get here for me to have this life, and then for me to throw it all away or me to give up. Like, that
Mm-hmm.
is not what I'm here to do. And the other thing about it too is, like, you know, being a Latina in this seat, which is very rare, like, I feel a obligation to continue to pave and to push to ensure that more Latinas are in these seats in the future. And so I'm always thinking about the pipeline and, how do we lift up the next generation and the next, set of leaders. In fact, we're building a leadership academy within Avance right now for that reason. But yeah, so there's, like, there's both. You have your current network, but then I always hold on to my ancestors and the fight that they had to get, to get here.
Hey, real quick, if you're enjoying the podcast, we first want to say thank you. And we also just want to give you a little insight of what we're up to at Francis. Some don't even realize that we're working with organizations to help them use AI to create that real human communication experiences, where that's actually supporting your families, those patients, or the entire community. We're actually creating tech that connects. Check it out, francis.ai. I love it. Do you think there's extra pressure being a woman and a woman of color?
My gosh, yeah, absolutely. And a mother now. Like, that's another added, pressure that I've just
Hmm.
started to experience. And so, yeah, the expectation, it's interesting, right? Because I've had these experiences where I will approach something in a very direct manner, and the feedback that I get is like it comes off a certain way, and it's just so hard for people to hear and some that. But I'm like, if a man were to do that, especially if a white man, because I experience it all the time, where white men are talking to me in a certain way and saying really inappropriate, off the wall things, nobody questions it. No one. There's no one's giving any feedback.
Hmm.
But because I'm a woman, a Latina, I've actually been in a room where someone said to me, once I revealed, because I'm white passing, right? People don't look at me and say,
Hmm.
oh, you're Latina. And especially if I'm wearing a suit, there's a whole lot of perceptions, right, of what a Latina should look like. And I actually was sitting in a room one time full of 400 people. And this woman said to me, but once I, like, because we kind of got into it, because she was like, oh, I thought you were just a funder, a white woman with power. And even though I had introduced myself, I'm Teresa Granillo, I'm the CEO. At that time, I was with Con Mi Madre. And I started to kind of, stand up for myself. And she goes, oh, okay. I see it now. I can feel your fire, your fiery nature. I wanted to pick up a chair. I was like, you are just continuing to, like,
Hmm.
dig a hole of stereotypes. Like, this is so ridiculous. So yeah, no, it's a lot.
It's ignorance, right? A lot of it.
Mhm.
I've been that person that I am very work ethic is on point. I love what I do. I'm always going to give 110%. But it's as soon as we decide to speak up and have a voice, we automatically become something
Oh yeah.
else, right? They
Hmm.
loved you until you spoke up because you're no longer just a yes man
Yep.
or yes woman, right? In a sense.
Or you're no
So,
longer fitting their stereotypes that they've created for you, right? And now they don't know what to
mhm,
do with you because you're outside that, and they're in a space of, like, I don't know how to act. I don't know how do I
yeah,
navigate this? And, like, their
uh,
uncomfortability becomes your problem. It's like, oh
yeah.
great, I don't need to own that too. Thank you.
I had a supervisor say, Efrain, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. I
Oh
said,
my
there's no other way to say it, actually. Like, I had to say it because you guys weren't listening any other way. I've been
Mm-hmm.
saying this for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and so what do you want me to do? Be fake about it? Like I
Mm-hmm.
can't. That's just not in me, right? So I can imagine
Mm-hmm.
it's happening to you as well, and that's where I had to sometimes see my own value and realize, you know what, this is not the room I should be in. How about that? This is
Mm-hmm.
not the company I should be working for. If I can't be authentically me, if we can't have a conversation, if we can't grow together, then why am I here? And I can
Yep.
imagine, Teresa, you've, as a woman, as a Latin woman, you've experienced that,
Absolutely.
especially as a Latin woman. You now, especially when they find out you're a Latin woman, everything changes.
Everything changes. Their minds like are blown, and um yeah, and to your point, like I really that comment you just made about like then this is not a place for me. It's so interesting because it's been a real intentional effort on my part at Avance to make sure that it is a place for learning and growing together. Like I
Mhm.
constantly say that we do a lot of work, internally with our ops and, operations teams and stuff to make sure that that is so present for everybody right? Because of the experiences that we've all had in different
Mhm.
places where we're not able to speak up. And when we do, we're labeled that fiery, oh, speaking out type of, it's like, or somebody tells you this is what your path should be. Well, why can't I decide what my path should be? Thank you. I have autonomy and I'm a human being. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, I think we're right. And it's such a privilege. It's such a privilege to be able to take experiences and then create an environment that wish we had, and
Yeah.
then now try to create that environment for other people so that they don't have to experience those
With
awful
everything you've
things.
seen your mom have to go through and who she become, everything that you've experienced now as a leader, as a woman in this space, and everything you've had to overcome as well to become. What are some of the things that you want your daughter to take as a woman in this world? I mean, it's only getting to me sometimes. I feel a little bit more challenging, not a little easier,
Mhm.
but what are some of the things that you hope that she takes from who you are and how you show up?
Yeah, wow. The image that came to my mind when you asked me that was when she was 5, maybe she was 6. So she came into my office. I have, a spinny chair. What kid doesn't like a spinny chair? So she's in the spinny chair, and I can see her and watch her from the other room, and she's saying, as she's spinning, she's saying, "I'm the boss. I'm the boss." And I was like,
Yes,
you
hell
know,
yeah.
so I really want her to believe that she has everything that she needs to lead, and that she doesn't, and that she can use her voice, be respectful. We don't need to, be using profanities and doing all that, but
Hmm.
that she can use her voice and speak up for herself, and that she can lead, and that I know it sounds cliche, but that she can be anything she wants to be. There's time she's like, I want to be an astronaut. I'm like, great, let's do that. Like I lean into all the things that she's excited about.
Yeah.
Um, but more than anything, like I just want her to feel confident in her own skin and be able to speak her truth and use her voice. Because so often I feel that women are put in a place where we are silenced and we are
Yeah.
told that like we are not to speak up, and that we are, even I've gotten coaching from like doing presentations, and I learned that, and I don't know if you know this, or you probably do or have seen it, but women tend to on stage cross their legs while they're standing, cross their legs. And it is an attempt to feel smaller, to make themselves smaller in a space, right? And my coach that was teaching me, she was like, take a wide stance on that stage, take up as much space, put your arms out as far as you can, take up as much space as you can. And ever since then, I've been watching. I watch women all the time. No
Wow.
man is standing on a stage crossing his legs. You've never seen
Yeah.
that. I've never
I'm gonna
seen
look
that.
out for it. Yeah, I'm
You
gonna
take a
look out
look
for
out
it
for it.
now.
But anyway, just again, take your space, use your voice, like, stand firm in what you believe in, and don't let anybody tell you any different.
I was at an event yesterday, and maybe we can touch it kind of where we're at now. Is this woman? She's actually an actor, been on shows of All That and Zack and Cody, and she's been having to really take care of her family almost since she was 13 years old, right? Because she was kind of the breadwinner in a sense. So she felt like she always had to live this strong, hard life. And now she's in her 40s. She just got divorced. She's a mom. and she's like, I'm in this new season of just being the softer version of myself. That it is
Mm.
okay to be softer. That I don't have to always play on this hard macho. Like, what do you think about that, Teresa? When you hear someone says, "I can be soft. I don't have to sit here and be this hard person."
I love that. And I think that, that's something that I'm starting to embrace as I have I have a 2-year-old son.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it is hard though. It's hard to be soft, particularly in public, when for so long you've been put in a place where you've had to be tough, like you've had to be strong and not let anybody see any of the weaknesses because you're afraid that like once they see that little thread they'll pull it and everything just
Mm-hmm.
unravels, right? And I spent so much of my life, um I'm not saying to say protecting, but just like covering up, right, where I came from and all the
Yep.
dirt and stories and all of that. And I think it is important to show that we can be both, right? Like, and there's a time and a place for all of it, but I think it's really hard. I know that I struggle with it a lot.
So let's talk. There's so much to uncover. I can't believe we have even gotten to what it is that you do in the organization. Tell us the organization that you represent today and your title.
Yeah, so I am the CEO at AVANCE. We are a national nonprofit that focuses on early childhood education, but we're unique in that we really focus on the parenting side of early childhood education. So we're a two-gen organization. We work with both parents and children simultaneously, particularly parents with children under the age of 5. We
Yeah.
ensure that the young children have everything that they need to be successful in education and in life. And the way we do that is we support parents to be the best versions of themselves and to provide everything that their children needs. Also, to have some of their own goals and like
Mm-hmm.
know that it's okay to pursue things for themselves, right? And it's not doesn't always have to be. It is about the family and it is about the children. But if you're not taking care of yourself and you're not setting goals for yourself and continuing to evolve, um, that's a that will reflect right on your family and your children.
And what
Um,
are some of the ways people take care of themselves? You say therapy? Is it finding a hobby? Like, what are some of the things you?
I mean, it could be any number of things. I think that that's defined by the person, but I
Mm-hmm.
think that one of the things that we find so often, particularly when you're talking about parents with children under the age of 5, is they're so speaking as a parent of children under 5, so consumed by the child and the family and everything that everyone else needs to be successful and to be, healthy, safe, all those things that the parent and oftentimes mom is last. And it's that whole idea on the airplane, right? Put your oxygen mask on first, then put your children, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Because if mom is not great, if dad is not great, if mom and dad aren't great together, that's the foundation, right? And so we do, support parents and actually having a social network, right? Social capital is so critical. So at Avance, one of our core programs, the Parent Child Education Program, we actually designed it to be cohort based. So it's not a one-on-one. It's not like we have a coach that works with one parent. We do it in a cohort of parents. We serve, each classroom is roughly 25 parents. And it's intentional to ensure that they are creating a network of support from one another. We're all going through a similar situation, right? And ensuring that they have other parents to talk to and bounce ideas off of and learn from. Um, I always say that Avance is just the conduit to which this happens, right? But
Yeah.
um, that having a social network is so critical especially for parents with young ones, because it can be so isolating.
And you're so right about just it being those women, mothers usually that kind of feel this. I actually asked my wife recently. She's been a stay-at-home mom now for almost 5 years, and it is never turning off. Right? This is 24/7. This is, as you mentioned, she always says, "I feel like I'm last. Like sometimes I need a break." And having to hear those things come out of her mouth is I had to take action,
Yeah.
right? Because how can she be present if she doesn't feel present? How
Hmm.
can she be 100% with the kids if she doesn't feel 100% with the kids, right? There's no sick days.
Yeah,
So
no.
it's having to really, in a relationship, having to hear those things and having to remember that while yeah, we're both making our own sacrifices ideally, right? Like I have to sit here and make my sacrifice while she makes hers, is never forgetting that we got to be there for each other.
Hmm.
So I love that you guys in this space. What brought you to this organization? Was it just someone called, or you just really felt the need and really felt I wanted to be a part of this? Like, what brought you to the organization?
It's a mixture of both. So I did get a phone call. The organization was looking for a CEO, and I got a phone call. And at the time, I was with another organization, and I was like, I'm not looking, so thank you for the call. I really appreciate it. And then, the seed was planted, right? And I started thinking about it more and more. And the organization that I was with previously, again, a two-gen organization working with both children and parents simultaneously, but it was focused on young Latinas starting in sixth grade and really working on ensuring that these young Latinas had the opportunity and all the skills and resources that they need to pursue post-secondary education. Amazing organization to this day, love it. It's a really great mission, but it starts at sixth grade,
Mm.
and there's a lot that you can do, but the research shows that, when you invest in early, early childhood,
Mhm.
that has the biggest return on investment, and you have the opportunity. It's no longer an intervention; it's a prevention program. And so they called again months later and just said, "Will you just put your application in?" So I did, and I really thought, you know what? I'm going to make a shift. I want to make a shift to not serving the problem, but solving the problem. And if we start at birth, we have a better chance of solving it. And so I'll
Wow.
also just, personally, like if my mom had AVANCE, I feel like she probably would have been in a different spot. And,
Mhm.
you know, just the mission is just beautiful and calls to me both on a personal and professional level.
You realize it wasn't chasing paychecks; it was chasing purpose, passion,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
I love it, and I love that it kept calling back. Sometimes we say no, and then it comes back. You're like, wait a minute, why did it come back? And you really got to start to think about it. Like, there's a
Yes.
reason that this shows up to my front door again.
Yep.
But I can imagine even you getting this call. It's like, damn, I'm doing something right. Was that like a know your worth moment for you to get that call and someone's actually calling you to come be a part of the organization because they see how good you're doing on the outside?
Yeah, that was one of those like imposter syndrome moments where I was like, like why me? Like here I am just minding my own business, doing my thing. And so it is a moment of reflection, right? And I think those are those moments, like you said, you have to take when it happens more than once, you have to take stock and be like, okay, I must be
Yep.
doing something right here. And so, I also feel like again, I'm going to go back to my network. Like relationships are matter. Relationships
I
are
agree.
so critical. And so, you know, taking care of my relationships, I think that helps because how did they get my name? They got my name from someone else, right? It wasn't the organization themselves knew me off the bat. They had contacted somebody who knew me.
Yep.
And so, yeah, but to your point about like, it keeps knocking, it keeps calling. There is, and I'm a data person, so I'm always like, give me the data, give me the data. It's like, well, how
Yep.
can I ignore this data, right? I said
I
no
love
once
it.
and it came back.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You've been CEO now for years. What have you learned about leading with both heart and strategy?
That it's really hard. It is
Yes.
really, really hard to balance the two, and that it's so the most critical part. And for me, the reason that I say that I or the organization can be successful is because of the team. So
Mm.
knowing for me, it's like knowing where I'm not knowing my weaknesses, knowing where I'm not as strong, and then building a team around that, right? To say like, okay, well, if I'm not as strong here, I'm going to build like this team's got to be really strong in that, and I'm going to trust them, right? Um, but I think being authentically me in every setting, no matter which team member I'm talking to, I'm always authentically me. I don't try to be
Yeah.
somebody I'm not. And I think that the team knows that, right? They know, and they know that my heart is in this, and no matter what decision we have, a, a guiding principles for decision making at our organization, and like everybody knows about it. We repeat it all the time, and so everybody knows that when decisions are made, when tough decisions are made, they weren't made lightly, right? They went through a process, and um, we're being very transparent. And here's the thing, like, I have a coach. I have an executive coach. I love her. She's amazing. And she always talks about like creating a space that allows me to be me, because when I am able to be authentically me, that is when like everybody's gonna get the
Yeah.
best of me, right? And I think that is something that if I'm conscious of, not just for myself, but for others. Like I need to also create a space that everybody else can be authentically them and show up in that way, because that's the way we're going to get the best of them too. And they're going to feel valued, right? They're going to be able to bring their
Yeah.
value and feel valued. But I think, again, I'll go back to, I don't think I could be the leader that I am with that kind of mindset had I not had humble beginnings, had I not
Yeah.
had struggles and had to, if I had been someone who kind of inherited success, I don't think that I would show up the way that I do
I
today.
want to tap into that executive leadership coach. Like so many people need it, and like me being in the coaching space, I see so many people that need it, and they would always give you that. Well, I don't have any money, but you see them spending money on different places, or I don't see the value, right? I don't see the ROI in a coach. What is your process to those that have that kind of stigma on coaching itself?
So here's the thing about coaching that I think those answers, I'm gonna be real honest. I think those answers are excuses. I think
Yeah.
that deep down underneath the iceberg on that one is fear. If
Mm.
I get a coach, that means I'm not good enough or I'm not doing a good job, right? Or if I get a coach, that means I'm going to have to question and like do some self-reflection. And, I think that it's more about the fear of people thinking that they don't have it all together. And for me, I've always said, anybody on our team that wants a coach, I'm like, yes, let's get you a coach. They're a thought partner. They are an
Yeah.
unbiased mirror and a wall to bounce the ball off of, and it is so valuable. And if you're authentic and you come in and you're like, hey, you know what, maybe I want to test this out, right? Like, so my coach, she did this EQI exam, test, and
Hmm.
came back with some stuff. And I just we were working on reality testing, all sorts of really really great things. And nobody, it wasn't like my board said, hey, you need an executive coach, or like your performance is low here, you need. No, for me, I was like, look, I'm about to go through a big transition. I just had a baby. Our organization, we just did a unification process, like a re-centralization process. We're growing rapidly, lots of changes coming, which I know is going to require change for me. And I want to make sure that I show up as the best
Yeah.
leader that I can show up at this time. And that means I need to have somebody to walk alongside me in that process and that journey. Somebody who has outside perspective, who has maybe worked with many different people, who has read all the leadership books, right? Like someone else who has a different perspective that can help reality test for me, right? Can
Yeah.
help guide me as I'm walking through this journey. So I'm a huge, huge fan. Coaching is so critical no matter what stage you're in.
Yeah.
And for those who have a little hesitation for whatever reason that they say, because you can find the money, you can, um, that's a moment of self-reflection. Like, is it really that I don't have money, or am I just a little bit afraid of what this means, right? What this means for
Hmm.
me, or what it's going to look like to others.
That's usually it. It is that, as you mentioned, a little scared of the unknown, right?
Mhm.
Not wanting to be called out on your BS. 'Cause a lot of times,
Yeah.
and you kind of mentioned about your bench of people. I have one friend that if I sat here and started giving what he would call excuses, he would automatically say, "Yeah, it's like a whole bunch of excuses, Efrain." And I'm like,
Yes.
you know what?
You're
Maybe it is.
right.
Maybe it is. Those are the best
Yeah.
friends to have.
Yeah.
I don't like, we talked about it a little earlier, that just the yes men. Like,
Me
be
neither.
real with me.
Yep.
That's the only way that we grow, is that you have to be real. If you're just telling me everything is good and reality is not good, how do I supposed to grow as a person, as a leader? So I love, those coaches, they're going to let you know, and let you know, yes, this is good, or no, I don't know what in the world were you thinking, but this is not what you could do. You had those moments, I can imagine. So that's really
Yeah.
cool. Um, Government cuts, man, they're hitting hard. How do you protect the mission when the money's tight?
Oh, we've had to do so much. And this is like, um, so our organization, um, last year we served over 18,000 individuals
Wow.
throughout our network. A large portion of those individuals we serve are through Head Start, Early Head Start. And if you're watching the news at all, you know that Head Start, Early Head Start initially was not even in the budget for
Hmm.
this year, which was a huge scare for us. Eventually, it did come back in, but it was flat, which is the first time in ever, very long time that it's been flat. But we're grateful to still have it. But we're always, on eggshells about that. Like the next, well, obviously right now with, budgets not being passed, and we just never know when the plug is going to be pulled on Head Start,
Yeah.
Early Head Start, and that's a huge concern for us because of the size, of our budget that is dependent on that. But I will tell you what I've done with our team. Again, this is whole like strategy. You've got to be strategic, and you always have to be thinking 5 steps ahead. Um, we did some scenario planning and said, okay, if Head Start, Early Head Start were to not have any funding, we wouldn't be able to serve as many because no one can replace federal dollars.
Yeah.
But what could we still do? Right. And so we did and all of, we had 3 different locations that we did this exercise in. And it was really affirming. I heard from our executive directors in those locations that, like, although it's not fun, you never want to be
Hmm.
in that situation. They felt confident. They were like, if something happens, I now have a plan. I know that I can still serve children and families, and I can still employ people, not at the degree that I was before, but that I'm not completely um, leaving my community out to dry. And so it's been obviously a roller coaster on so many levels, the funding, immigration stuff, everything. Like, it's just so much to take right now. And for leaders, especially, leading organizations that are kind of in the crosshairs of all of this, it is not for the faint of heart. Like, you are just constantly, you know, and trying to hold space, both being strategic and trying to figure out like, how do we move forward, but also hold space for people and their feelings, right? Their emotions about this. And so you asked me about like the strategy and the heart, like that. Those are the 2 things. Like, I'm constantly trying to hold. Like, okay, we still have a business to run, we still have people to serve, and I have staff and families that have hearts and needs and communities to take care of. And we how do we make sure that the heart is taken care of, the
Yeah.
human is taken care of in addition. So
I don't know if this has anything to do with your space, maybe, maybe not. But what I'm seeing here in Central Florida, and we have one of the biggest districts in the state of Florida, and probably one of the top 10 in the country, that our elementary schools are empty. They're cutting teachers, they're cutting class sizes. Is that going to be an impact to what your organization has to deal with?
yes. So what we've seen so far is a decline in our Head Start enrollment for sure. Where these children are going, we do see them going to the school districts. We've also seen them going to charter schools. So that's going to be a huge hit. The the other side of this, which is a benefit for us, is that because we serve children from birth, there is there is actually no formal for better or for worse, there's no
Hmm.
formal early childhood system. So there's no dismantling of a system because it doesn't exist. So we are kind of, what I tell my team is like, we're fortunate in the sense that our services will continue to be needed and even more so now than ever.
Hmm.
The issue that we're going to see and what we have seen is that we often operate some of our programs on school district campuses so that we're introducing families to the school system early, and that when those families do transition into the school system, that it's a seamless transition because they've already been there, and they've been there in a
Yeah.
way that's less scary because they're not yet enrolled. So they're kind of watching on the periphery and they're getting introduced slowly, right? They're getting little bites and pieces. So that will have an impact, right? If we're not able to operate on school district campuses because they're shutting down campuses, shutting down buildings. But we have, again, we've seen the decline in Head Start enrollment, and then we have an opportunity right now, and that's what I keep telling our team is to like. Now it will require philanthropy because we know we're not getting any more federal dollars,
Yeah.
so it's going to require a stronger philanthropic support for us to strengthen and grow the work that we're doing. But I think it's more important now than ever, right? And if we can do our work right on our end. So I always say, the a child 90% of a child's brain is developed by the age of 5. We have we are brain architects and we have a lot of really important work to do. But if
Yeah.
we do our work right on this side, supporting parents and supporting children, like whatever elementary school they go to, charter school, whatever, like they're going to be good. They're going to be okay, especially if the parents have the foundation of educational support that they need to provide their children, not just in early childhood, but for the long haul.
Mhm.
They're going to be okay.
I love this. I love that you're in this space and just talking to you. It's just so relaxing. You're just like you said, authentically. You can definitely tell. What's the vision? What's the vision? Last time we spoke, you mentioned growth in a space where people are looking to decline. Right? We just talked about even the school
Mhm.
system, but there's expansion happening. What does that vision look like, and how can people listening support that growth?
Yeah, and we've done some landscape analysis across the nation to look at different states and communities where there is a higher percentage of Latino families and communities, and there may not be as many resources for
Hmm.
early childhood. And so we are really targeting those communities because, and here's the biggest thing, what we want to do in terms of when you say growth. Avance is not interested in going into a community and setting up a brick and mortar. No. Communities across the nation have rich, amazing organizations and resources in their own community. What we want to do is partner. We want to partner with those organizations to be able
Uh,
to provide our curriculum and our programs so that the community can serve themselves, right? I don't know if that makes sense, but just
yep.
we believe that those who are closest to the community are best suited to serve their community. And so we want to find those partners, provide our curriculum and our resources and training and technical assistance, and let them do what they do best in serving their own community, and because they have the trust, they know where the people are and they know what their people need. And so if we can be a resource and be a support in their journey, that's where we really want to focus our energy. So we're looking at Miami right now. So speaking of Florida, that Miami is as
Hmm.
an area, and we're looking into New Mexico. We've just expanded to two cities in New Mexico, and we're also looking in California. We have some locations of expansion in Northern California, but now we're looking more in, the southern part of the state as well. So we're really excited about that. And if folks are interested in learning more about our growth, our strategic plan, visit our website. And there is actually an email address you can actually just send an email to. It's info@avance.org. There's a donate now button on the website if you feel so inclined to contribute. Any amount matters. I know folks often say like, well, I can't give $500. Give five.
Yeah,
Every
it makes a
amount,
difference.
it does. It makes a difference.
You've just mentioned the website. Is there any socials that you guys are on? People want to go to see some nice photos, videos,
Yes,
education.
we're on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So you can find us on any one of those platforms. Avance Inc. And yeah, follow us. We're very big right now on storytelling. We just celebrated, we're 52 years old this year. So you can imagine after 52 years of operating, the amount of stories and success stories that we have, particularly, I
Love
mean,
it.
we've got lawyers and engineers and all these, wildly successful people who were babies when they started with our program. So we love to share those stories.
I love it. Listen, we have to start wrapping this up, but I'll leave you with one last question.
Yes.
You built this career fighting to give families a better start. What's one moment where you needed a reset, and how did you get back yourself back to that center?
Goodness. There's so many moments to choose from, but I will say that um, just this most recently in January, I really had to take a step back, and so much was going on in the world. And when you're someone who cares so much about your community, you always are asking, can I do more? Right? What more can I do? How can I help? Um, and so there was a moment where I was like, what more can I do? And I realized that like what I need to do was to get really clear about our work at Avance and to not let external stories, external forces take us off course. And my coach helped me with that. I really leaned into my coach and said, hey, I'm having a moment. Like, I need support here. And like,
Yeah,
I need to work this out. Um, and then my team, I'm very honest with them. And we have each other's back. And so we said, hey, look, this the way that we're going, we need to take a new approach. We have to take a new approach. And so together we have been strategizing and we created a new approach and we launched that in July, August. And so, we're pushing hard. We invested in advocacy. We have a whole department that's really focused on advocacy right now and really pushing forward on that. And so I think, in moments where it's not always clear, right, what the next step is, or there's some doubt creeping in, or just you're tired, right, as a leader, I think it's so important to step back, put that oxygen mask on, whatever form that takes. I'm a runner, so I literally will put my shoes on and I'll go leave it out on the pavement. But to make sure you have a bench of people, and when the times get tough, you reach to that bench. That's the
I love
support you
it.
need.
I appreciate this conversation. I appreciate the insight from a leader, from a woman that's in this space that had to overcome her own struggles to get here. We thank you. We thank you for being representation. I always say when I get on, and I've interviewed hundreds already this year, very small amount, as you know, is a woman of color. And a woman of Latina, forget that. Like, that is even smaller. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So
yeah,
we
yeah.
appreciate you being representation. We thank you for everything you continue to do, and we know that you're going to continue to keep that growth going. And who knows? Who knows? You still got so many years ahead of you to do so much more. Maybe someone else is knocking on your door in a couple of years after they see the success you're doing here. So we thank you. Guys, make sure that you guys go ahead and follow. Make sure you guys go show some love. Visit the website so you guys can see more, and also find those locations near you. And as you know, they're growing, so kind of be on the lookout for those that are coming as well. We mentioned Mexico, we mentioned Miami, so if you're listening from any of those places, make sure you guys do tap in. But I'm Efrain. This is Dr. Teresa. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Latest.